Sometimes, you have to be crazier than what you're working with. Am I the asshole for devising a plan to get rid of my girlfriend after discovering her manipulation tactics? I, a 31-year-old male, thought my life was going pretty well. I had graduated from college, found a great job I was passionate about, and had been slowly but surely climbing the corporate ladder. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and I was proud of what I'd built. Then I met Rachel, a 29-year-old female. I met her at a mutual friend's party, and from the moment I saw her, I was hooked. Rachel was vibrant, smart, and funny, with a contagious energy that could fill a room. We hit it off immediately, and before I knew it, we were dating. Things moved fast between us, almost too fast, but it felt natural at the time. I was infatuated with her, and it seemed like she felt the same way. After a few months of dating, she started staying over at my place more frequently, which I didn't mind at first. Then, one day, she casually mentioned, "I think I'm spending so much time here, I might as well just move in." It felt sudden, but I shrugged it off, thinking it was a natural progression in our relationship. I liked being around her, and having her move in seemed like it would make things easier. No more back and forth between her apartment and mine. It was convenient. But I quickly realized that Rachel wasn't just moving into my place, she was trying to take over my life. The first sign of trouble came a few weeks after she officially moved in. I came home from work one day and noticed that my coffee table, the one I'd had for years, had been replaced with something more modern, aka expensive and impractical. When I asked her about it, she waved it off, saying, "I thought it would look nicer in here." I wasn't thrilled, but it was just a coffee table, right? I could let that go. But then it was the couch, and the curtains, and my favorite chair disappeared, replaced by a sleek, uncomfortable thing that looked more like art than furniture. One weekend, I went on a business trip, and when I returned, my entire apartment was a different color. She'd had the walls painted without even asking me. A dull beige that felt more like a waiting room than a home. "What the hell, Rachel?" I asked, standing in the middle of my now unfamiliar living room. "I just wanted to make it ours instead of yours," she said, giving me a wide, innocent smile. "It's more us now. I wasn't so sure about that. I hated the color." I told her, "But now it's yours, not ours, because I don't like this color at all." She brushed me off, saying I'd get used to it, but that was when I started to feel like something wasn't right. It wasn't just the furniture or the paint. It was the slow realization that she wasn't interested in us. She was interested in remaking me into someone she wanted me to be, and that was just the beginning. Rachel's family lived on the opposite coast, about 2,000 miles away, and at first it didn't seem like a big deal. She didn't visit them often, and I didn't think much of it. But soon, she started dropping hints about how nice it would be to live closer to them. "I miss my family," she'd say wistfully. "I just wish I could see them more." I sympathized with her at first, but then she started suggesting I update my resume just in case. She'd leave job listings on my laptop, opportunities that were conveniently located near her parents' house. "I think you'd love working here," she said one evening, showing me a job posting for a company I had zero interest in. "It's such a great opportunity, and the salary is incredible." It wasn't long before she took things a step further. We went to visit her family for a weekend, and during dinner, her father, who owned a successful business, offered me a job. It would have doubled my salary, but the catch was it was work I'd never done before and had no passion for. I politely declined, thanking him for the offer but explaining that I loved my current job. That was the first time I saw a flicker of annoyance on Rachel's face, but she didn't say anything, not yet at least. A few weeks after declining her father's job offer, things at work started to get weird. My boss, who had always been pretty laid back, began scrutinizing everything I did. I got written up for mistakes I knew I hadn't made. Emails I'd sent were full of typos, numbers on spreadsheets were wrong, and I was getting called out for sending nonsensical messages to people I didn't even know. I was confused. I prided myself on being detail-oriented, and these errors weren't something I'd overlook. I went through my documents and emails, checking timestamps, and I realized that these mistakes were happening when I was asleep. Someone was tampering with my work. I went to IT, and after they looked into it, they dropped the bombshell. "It's someone using your IP address, Dean." I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. My mind raced, trying to figure out who could possibly be sabotaging me like this. And then it hit me. Rachel had access to my computer. Rachel had been pushing me to take her father's job. Could she really be this devious? It was hard to believe. This was someone I had loved, someone I had trusted, but the evidence was piling up, and it all pointed to her. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I played along, telling her how stressed I was about work. She didn't miss a beat. "If they don't appreciate you, you should just take my dad's offer," she said sweetly. "It would be so much better for us." Us. There was no us. It was always about her. Things only escalated from there. Rachel had been hinting that she wanted a new car for a while, but I told her she'd need to save up for it. We had other priorities and a new car wasn't on the list. Then out of nowhere, her car's engine seized. She claimed it just happened, but when I spoke to the mechanic, he told me she'd driven it with no oil in it for months. No oil. The motor was ruined. Of course, this meant she needed a new car now. I was livid, but she played the helpless card perfectly. "I didn't know," she said, wide-eyed and innocent. I thought it was fine. I was beginning to feel like I was losing control of my life. Everywhere I turned, Rachel was pulling the strings, manipulating situations to get what she wanted. I needed help, so I reached out to my sister Kara, who had always been my confidant. I told her everything and she was shocked. "Dean, you need to get out. Get rid of her. That bitch is crazy." And I don't mean just a little crazy. It was what I had been afraid of admitting to myself. But Kara was right. I had to end it. Kara offered to talk to Rachel, thinking that maybe, just maybe, she could talk some sense into her. I wasn't optimistic, but I agreed. When Kara came back, her face was pale and she looked shaken. "Dean," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She threatened me. She said if I didn't stay out of your relationship, she'd ruin my life." And she wasn't bluffing. She detailed exactly how she'd do it. That was it. I was done. Rachel had crossed the line and there was no going back. But I knew I couldn't just kick her out without a plan. Rachel was smart, manipulative, but smart. If I made a move without being strategic, she'd probably find a way to twist the situation and make my life even more hellish. I needed to be smart about how I got rid of her. That's when I remembered my old college friend, Mark. Mark was a brilliant actor and, by his own admission, a little crazy himself. When I told him the situation, he was all in. "I'll help you," Mark said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We'll make her think she's met the perfect guy, someone who can whisk her away to the life she wants." Together, we crafted the plan. Mark would pose as a successful doctor, a man who lived on the opposite coast and was looking for a long-term relationship. We knew Rachel was obsessed with moving closer to her family, and Mark would be the perfect bait. The next time we went out, I casually introduced Rachel to Mark, pretending he was an old friend from college who just happened to be in town. Mark played his role perfectly, charming, successful, and everything Rachel had been pushing me to be. It didn't take long for her to fall for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Mark started texting her accidentally, pretending he had meant to send the message to a friend. "Oh, I'm just out here in California, enjoying the sun. It's so beautiful out here." Rachel ate it up. She started responding to Mark's texts, and before long they were accidentally running into each other whenever we were out. I made sure to act completely oblivious, like I had no idea what was going on. Rachel was hooked. As their relationship progressed, Mark began dropping hints that he wanted to settle down, but only if he could find the right woman, someone willing to move across the country with him. Rachel was more than eager to fit the bill. The kicker? Mark convinced Rachel to start footing the bill for their secret dates. He played the busy doctor card, claiming he had unexpected expenses and couldn't always cover the costs. Rachel, blinded by her ambition and the prospect of a life with him, gladly paid for everything. Meanwhile, I continued to act like the clueless boyfriend, letting her dig her own grave. She had no idea that Mark wasn't a successful doctor. He was a starving actor barely making ends meet. But to her, he was the perfect escape from the life she had been trying to manipulate me into. Eventually, Mark pushed Rachel to make a decision. He told her that if she wanted to be with him, she needed to leave me. She needed to quit her job, pack her bags, and move across the country to be with him. Rachel took the bait. She started making plans behind my back, selling off her belongings, and even putting in notice at her job. She thought she was being sneaky, but I knew everything. I watched as she slowly unraveled her life, all while thinking she was moving on to something better. Then, on the day she was supposed to leave, Mark ghosted her, completely disappeared. No texts, no calls, nothing. Rachel was left standing in the ruins of her life with no job, no money, and no successful doctor waiting for her on the other side. When Rachel finally realized what had happened, she was furious. She accused me of being in on it, but I played dumb, acting shocked that Mark had done such a thing. She had no proof, and with nowhere else to turn, she packed up the last of her things and left my apartment in a rage. I haven't heard from her since. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for devising a plan to get rid of my girlfriend after discovering her manipulation tactics? Should I have handled things differently, or was I justified in giving her a taste of her own medicine?